In this video, I'll talk about the most underrated AI tool in 2025. In this tool, you can drop any type of document and then you can ask any question you'd like, but that's not the only thing. You can also generate a mind map immediately, which is kind of an overview of all the documents that you've put in. And you can also create a podcast where two people will be talking about all of the documents in this podcast. And you can even interact with these people talking about your documents. Let's dive in. The tool I'm talking about is, of course, NotebookLM, the tool that Google created. The first thing that you will have to do is type in notebooklm.google. As I already said, it is a Google product. This is the homepage of NotebookLM. So how do they position themselves? They position themselves as your personalized AI research assistants. So the first step that you will have to do is upload your sources. Whatever you want to upload, it can be PDFs, it can be websites, it can be even YouTube videos. So one of the main use cases of this tool is that you actually drop your documents there and learn about these documents. So ask questions about these documents, generate a podcast about these documents. Okay, so let's now look at the tool itself, and we will try to showcase the capabilities of this tool by using two real-world examples. In the first example, we will upload two quarterly reports of the company Google or Alphabet, and then we will generate a podcast, we will generate a mind map to see what these documents are all about. And in the second example, we'll upload many user manuals from my TV, my laptop, my iPhone, even my microwave. Okay, and then we will use this tool actually to replace your customer support. For example, when your TV or laptop broke down and you need to call someone, you can actually just use this tool instead and ask your problems, if you, of course, upload the right documents. So those two examples we'll be seeing in this video. If you've never used this tool before, this will be the screen that you will see. And here you can click on Create New Notebook. And then the first step that you will have to do is upload your sources. So for the first example, I've uploaded two PDF documents of Alphabet's quarterly reports. So the 10Q of 2025 and the 10Q of 2024. And on the left side, you can see all the sources that you've uploaded. You can add sources as well, and you can discover sources. So imagine you want this tool to actually search for related sources. You can ask your question here as well. Okay, then just for you to keep in mind, if you ask a question, which you can do here in the middle of the screen, it will be a question about all the selected documents. So the tool will answer based on all the selected documents. So if you want to ask a question about a specific document that you've uploaded, then you have to deselect all the other ones. So what can you do with this tool? First of all, you can see that you can ask questions. It already suggests you some prompts that you can send here. But of course, you can also generate an audio overview, which is the podcast that we've been talking about. And next to that, you can also generate a mind map, which for me is a very powerful way to get an overview of these documents. So let's try those out. And next to that, you can also generate a timeline, which will actually take a look at all the documents that you've uploaded and then try to make a timeline from beginning to the ending of information in these documents, which is also a cool feature. So let's click on that as well. So let's first start off with looking into this mind map. So if you click on the mind map, you can see that it gives you an overview of all of the information that is to be found in these documents. And if you click on one of these topics, for example, segment information, you will see that it will talk about the segments, the different segments of Alphabets, which are at the Google services, Google Clouds, other ones. You can open up another one like cash flow, for example. And if you have a question about one of these activities here, for example, I'm interested in their investment activities, you can actually click on one of these topics and it will automatically create a question for you. So this is a very nice way to learn about the documents. First, it generates this overview, and then topic for topic, you can look at the things that are interesting for you and click on a topic, and then it will automatically gives you a question and an answer. And the nice thing about these answers is actually that it will provide you the source, but not only the source. If you click on it, it will exactly show you where in these documents and in which documents that it found this information. Let's now take a look at the timeline that we've created. So if we click on the timeline, you can see that it generates a timeline starting from 1998. And that's probably because that's the first piece of information that is to be found in these documents. Of course, it has loads of information on the last years. So that's why the timeline only focuses on these periods the most of the time. But this is just a very nice way to get a clear overview of the timeline on these documents. And of course, very important to know if you want to keep this, if you want to use this as a source where you then again can ask questions about, you have to click on convert to source. And then you can see it is added here at the left side on the documents. Okay, so let's close this note. As you can see here, all notes are saved at the right side. And this is something important to know. If you ask a question like this question that I've just asked, and you want to save this piece of information, you have to click on Save to Notes. Otherwise, if you refresh your screen, it's not saved and it will be lost. There is no history of chat here. So save this to a note to save it at the right side as well. So then we also just generated a study guide, which you can do here with this button. And this is actually very interesting if you want to learn, if you really want to test your knowledge on the documents that you've uploaded. Very interesting use case for students that just upload their courses in this tool. So here you can see you get questions and the answers as well. Okay, let's close this note. And let's now take a look at the podcasts.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. And today we are diving into a couple of really key documents from, well, one of the biggest tech companies out there, Alphabet Inc.
Right, we're looking at their 10Q filings.
Yeah.
Specifically for the first quarter of 2024 and comparing that with the first quarter of 2025.
And just quickly, for anyone not totally familiar, a 10Q, it's basically the company's detailed quarterly report they file with the SEC. It's where they really break down the numbers, the performance, the risks.
Yeah, and comparing these two side by side, Q124 versus Q125, it gives us a really fascinating look under the hood. You can see how their massive business is actually performing year over year.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. Cut through all the financial jargon, pull out the crucial details, and help you understand how Alphabet is growing, where they're making these huge investments, and also some of the really significant challenges they're grappling with right now.
Okay, so let's start with the big picture. The headline figures, the top line numbers, comparing Q1 2025 back to Q1 2024. And earnings per share, the diluted EPS, basically followed suit. It jumped from $1.89 in Q1 24 up to $2.81 in Q1 25. That's a 49% leap.
So it's not just more money coming in the door, but substantially more actually dropping to the bottom line per share.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was wondering what diluted EPS stands for and what it is. So unfortunately, it's not possible to hear the answer and hearing my voice at the same time, but I will explain what happened. So they first start off with talking about diluted EPS. What is the meaning? What is the definition? And they then give a detailed description of about 1 minute before they actually dive back into the podcast. So they first give you an explanation and then they say, okay, where were we? Okay. And then they just join in. So that's a very cool feature. It's not only a feature, it's a very interesting way of actually learning about a topic. So this podcast is not just a cool feature of NotebookLM. In my opinion, it's a very powerful way of learning about a new topic. And I'm thinking for report earnings, I will probably always just upload them in NotebookLM and listen to it in my commute. And I'm also thinking about students. If You never went to course in the year, just upload your files in NotebookLM and start taking a look at the mind map first to get an overview of all of the topics that you need to learn, and then listen to the podcast first to see what it is all about, and then you can start learning. So this is a very interesting use case for students as well, in my opinion. Okay, so how do you download this? So here on the three dots, you can actually change the speed of the podcast so that you can listen to it a bit faster, and you can also download it so that you can listen to it in your car as well. Let's move on to our next example. So let's create a new notebook. Let's upload our sources, and as you can see here, you can upload files if you want to. You can also use your Google Drive, and don't make the mistake here, a mistake that I made personally, to save all of your information in Word documents and then try to upload it here. It is a Google tool, so save it in Google Docs instead of Word. You can also upload links to any website you'd like, and even upload YouTube videos if you copy the link. Then you can generate your own documents here as well. So let's now upload some user manuals. That's the second example that I want to use here. So let's first look at the mind map again. Here you can see that it realizes that it's about device manuals, and it splits it up into the 5 manuals that we've uploaded. And if you click on the Telenet modem, for example, you can see that there are loads of topics again, which are in the user manual, and even a topic for troubleshooting. For example, what to do when you forgot your passwords. If you click on that again, it will generate a question for you. And right now it's looking at all of the documents at the same time. So you can see that it's for each of the documents generates an answer. So of course we only want it for the Telenet modem. So what do we have to do? We deselect everything. We click on the Telenet modem and we ask it again. And here you can see on the right side that it only selected one source for this question. So that's how you can direct your questions to a specific topic. And here you can see this is an answer specifically for the Telenet modem, how to solve it when you forgot your password. And again, if you want to see where it got this information from, just click on the source and then it will show you exactly where it found this information. Let's ask another question. I dropped my iPhone in the bathtub. Can I still fix it? I dropped my iPhone in the bathtub. Can I still fix it? So of course, if I ask this question, I selected Telenet modem. So that's also a very important feature from this tool. It does not hallucinate that often, not compared to ChatGPT. If the information is not to be found, it will tell it to you as it is. So of course, we have to select everything again, or maybe only the things that are related to your iPhone, but that doesn't matter right now. And let's ask the question again. And here you get the answer. It gives you a short answer, but then of course it also refers to the YouTube video where they talk about how to fix an iPhone when it is dropped into the water. If you want to save this information, again, click on Save Notes, and then it will be added here at the right side. And if you want this to be a source, to put it on the left side, just click on this one and convert to source. And then you can see here it is added on the left side. Last thing I want to talk about is an FAQ, a frequently asked questions. If you click on that, you can see that it's already generated for you a frequently asked question report about these documents, which can be very useful for you, of course, to quickly have an overview of that. So that's an overview of NotebookLM. In my opinion, a very, very powerful and underrated tool that you can use to learn new stuff about anything you want. You can even generate podcasts that you can listen to during your commutes. If you want to learn more about AI tools like these, don't forget to subscribe and please drop a comment to let me know which tool I should discuss next. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.